Pobre man miwa man pi akong banaw ning ani raman kaning magdaro ra.
Mà lỡ ông già hoặc là ba già là bố mẹ của con đấy đau ốm thế này thế khác thì con bỏ học nó đi kiếm tiền.
Khachera chela isharadi te chulmin ngachmi de katle dibe sas juni minimula.
These are the voices often drowned in the urban noise as a nation pursues progress. But in truth, national growth covers not only its developed cities, but also its remote regions. These pockets of poverty are valuable factors in development. With poverty alleviation at the forefront of the Millennium Development Goals, there is now an increasing awareness of the central role capacity development plays in attaining these goals. Until the late 20th century, Bhutan thrived in isolation and a self-sufficient economy under monarchic rule. Today, in an effort to decrease poverty to below 15%, the government is taking steps to decentralize its authority and resources to the local level. 70% of the Bhutanese live in villages where basic services are often inadequate.
In terms of formal education, the capacities at the local level are quite low. But that doesn't mean that the local functionaries do not have the traditional wisdom. They're able to do a lot of things through the intuitive and through experience. But the trainings that we give them is basically to understand the government formal systems of budgeting, planning, how do you go about procurement, finance.
In Bhutan, the central government works with the Royal Institute of Management, or RIM, established more than a decade ago to specifically support the capacity development needs of the government in implementing its national priorities. One of the groups of civil servants being trained at the RIM are locally known as the Geog Administrative Officers, or GAOs. They get training on national policies and regulations and are then assigned to the villages or geogs to work with the elected local leaders called GOPs.
The local governments at the geog levels are the ones who will be providing services to the people of whom the majority still live in the villages in Bhutan. So we want our geog administrative officers to actually help them to be able to make good choices. And also to give them a strategic viewpoint by telling them that, okay, this sector is going to do such things in that particular geog, or a central level program is coming in this particular area of your geog, so why don't you capitalize on that? So actually help them through the planning and budgeting process and build capacities in the process.
Within this structure, the GOPs retain their roles as village leaders in areas of community organization, mediation, and traditional leadership roles, where they have strong levels of capacity learned over the years, while the GAOs support them to help link them up with the central government.
Kabda chikalo nga chigi ladi da tudi lishimbe jodo sishuni la te nga chigi nale geog nale da thema bewa ching kongi charji desu lishimbe tsam so ta nga chi hishnale nga chigi charji desu lishimbe tsam te dele kong message da chiga kongi jewa thab bishnale dele da ladi lishimbe jodo sishuni la nga chigi charji desu cham te la lindi kabda chi thab lishim jodo sishuni la.
They have to learn to make a decision within a broad framework, and this framework decision making will have to be based on the budget that you have, rules and regulation of the nation, national policies, and also your own priorities. You'll have to match all those kind of things.
Torim ga dewe dikti tam khachamni na tit lishimira hago ese shuni la tatugi doram dilo tabi udolo. Namsani panyam cheke mese shuni la tana gyo naluma mise ma tonsip gi mis de chigalu da UNDP mi chibe da khonglu 다 같이 텔레비로 고다 디솔레이션베 슝기 시주기 텔레비로 같이 텔레비로 고다 칠레이션베 튜브다 공기 나절로 잡초 디솔레이션베 베어들 남생이 또 포지션이나
This twinning arrangement between GUPS and GAOs, an innovative capacity development strategy on the part of the Royal Government of Bhutan, effectively taps into the existing capacity of the local leader and creates an institutional link to the state by way of the civil service. It is a fusion of traditional community knowledge and technical skills, both contributing to the realization of local and national development goals.
The GUPS, they see the coming of the administrative officers as some relief to them. They have to depend on the sector heads in the Dzongkhag for everything, for right from preparing work plans, annual plans, making plans. Now with the coming up of the GAOs, they are quite relieved because all those jobs would be taken up by the administrative officers.
For the local level, this learning process also comes with unlearning the previous practice of relying on the government to dictate developmental actions. Now, the people are empowered to take charge of their own development, initiating the much-needed changes in their communities.
Previously, what we are implementing through the directive and angle given from the upper hierarchy. Now, by the democracy, we are giving pressure from the grassroots level to the government.
So we're not asking any outside experts to come and look at the needs and implement things. They know what their issues are, they know what their needs are, and they come together, they discuss their priorities, and they essentially program what needs to be done in a particular community.
We have chosen for the roots because the village, they doesn't have the roots. They are facing lots of problems, especially when they feel sickness. At that moment, they used to carry with 4 or 5 people for one patient, so taking up and down 1 hour. So now by this road, they can move, say around by 15 minutes to 15 minutes.
Dalam tu tiada dalam semua gaya laga jadi. Ngadi mau pasien di Cina pergi mila mau milai mi dia orang alam dulu terus jadi ngai sopan vila. Dalam dia ikut lejun kita sen sulit ane alus sula aja gu peto ciongo dareng aja mi gip benara. Kini jim senga gabel su dirai lah yang malah dia kata nalu dia hema gabel su itu tu jadi kau ani kau yang itu susun nazu lah. Jadi nilai apa tu kau yang susun nazu bagi ucap saya tiga vila. Jadi cara di pura jabjudina kau kotak kau nalezi lah jadi. Dan ini ngakak dekat seti nalai kau nai lah.
Donors need to understand that capacity development is a long-term and often complex endeavor, involving a diagnosis of capacity gaps across the individual, organizations, and enabling environment levels. Training and human resources development, while often an important component of a capacity development response strategy, is only part of a bigger picture.
Training, one component of the capacity development. So if you look at that, then you see it's a new policy that is being practiced, and if the new policy that is being practiced, then you need new types of knowledge, new types of skills, new types of attitudes, and also new types of systems and structures also in place.
Consideration of these systems and structures are critical to affecting positive change. Therefore, the improvement of coordination and institutional arrangements is an important area for capacity development interventions. Effective and efficient institutional arrangements must be in place so that local-level development processes are in sync with the country's overarching development priorities.
I really think it's important is to see how, like for example, whatever task is undertaken at the lower level fits within a policy or like contributes to the policy. So I'm happy, and I think it's also a big challenge to actually, it will take some time, maybe 2-3 years down the line. Things might go wrong, but I think we have to live with it and learn from it and then see how we can take it up.
Since the 1990s, Vietnam has shifted from a plan to a market economy, and the country has benefited from rapid economic growth and a significant decrease in the overall poverty rate. But this progress still needs to be translated in some rural areas, a goal that the government has taken steps to achieve in part through decentralization.
Trên ở đây cái năng lực là một trong những yếu tố quyết định rất lớn cho vấn đề sự thành công của cái sự phân cấp, cũng như là cũng giống tương tự như là các nhà tài trợ khi mà muốn giúp Việt Nam ấy, thì cái khả năng tiếp nhận viện trợ là một trong những cái yếu tố mà người ta đánh giá rất cao. Thì ở đây cũng như thế, và chính phủ khi phân cấp xuống các địa phương, nếu khả năng tiếp nhận tất cả các phân cấp đấy mà không có, thì tôi nghĩ là cái đồng vốn chúng ta đổ vào sẽ không có hiệu quả.
Decentralization is a large-scale process of change, which offers opportunities as well as challenges.
Decentralization is very much about empowerment, about local authorities having the power and local population having the power to decide about their own investments. It is about making sure that investments trickle down to the local level, not only capacity development investments, but also infrastructure investments. And the relationship is that those investments will not work, will not be effective without proper local capacity development.
With communities actively involved in their own development, positive change can take place on a much wider scale.
Là nếu trước đây mà công tác kế hoạch chủ yếu là huyện làm là áp xuống, thế bây giờ là làm từ dưới lên. Ở các xã trên này là 21 xã thị trấn đều là làm từ dưới.
Đây là thấy người dân rất phấn khởi, rất mừng khi có cái dự án là được người dân tham gia, đề xuất là dân rất mừng. Thế còn trước đây là dân đôi lúc là công trình dân không thích, nhưng mà xã đưa về. Thế còn bây giờ là công trình nào dân thích thì xã sẽ làm. Mà cái phần này là cái đáp ứng được cái nhu cầu của dân, thì cái phần này là chỉ có 90% đáp ứng được.
Nói chung là rất vui và rất vinh dự. Là được nhất là các dự án người ta quan tâm. Nhưng mà cái gì là của thôn rồi là mình đề nghị trong thôn rồi cái khác. Nhưng mà các dự án trong thôn là lên báo cáo trong xã là lên huyện, lên đâu thì không biết là vấn đề xin chỗ nào, thì nói chung dân người ta hoan nghênh. Giống như đường xã đâu nó có đê dễ dàng thế này thì khác, thì rất hoan nghênh, rất mừng.
In Vietnam, as in other countries, effective decentralization reform requires that systems and institutional architecture need to be in place to ensure that development both in the local and national levels are complementary.
You have to work from both creating the enabling environment, meaning that requirement or like delegation of responsibility to the person first. And then you can come up with supply side, meaning that, training and support so that you can do your job better.
By focusing on capacity development at the local level as an integral part of the country's development activities and institutionalizing these practices from the central government, rural progress is now within reach.
Dạ, về trước đây thì đúng tôi quan sát, tôi sống ở đây thì 27 năm rồi. Mà trước đây ở đây dân đây cực nghèo, cũng gọi như hết. Đường xã trường chạy gì cực khổ, thấy họ có gì nhà cửa gì không có, mà khi có dự án có nhà nước đầu tư dự án nói cho dân thì tôi thấy là quá thay đổi nhiều. Cái cách ăn, cách sống, cách sinh hoạt, cách nữa thì rất là thay đổi, gọi là theo như tầm mắt của tôi thì đạt 80%.
Tôi nghĩ là có rất nhiều hy vọng, tại vì là thứ nhất là về chính sách của nhà nước cũng như đảng thì coi chủ trương về cái phần phân cấp là rất ưu tiên. Thế bây giờ chỉ có một điều là làm nào để tiếp nhận được cái phân cấp đấy một cách có hiệu quả, thì cái năng lực của địa phương cần phải được nâng cao. Cho nên tôi nghĩ là cái hướng này là cái hướng mà chắc chắn là ở Việt Nam cũng sẽ rất được ưu tiên. Mà theo như tôi hiểu thì về phía chính phủ cũng như về các nhà tài trợ cũng rất ưu tiên cái mảng này.
In light of the global economic crisis, which has led to shrinking aid budgets, capacity development becomes more than ever one of the most practical and effective investments to make.
It's important to really invest in local capacity development, do it in a better way in order to improve service delivery. People are entitled to better service delivery and they're entitled to a better life.
The Philippines is a country that has particularly focused on and leveraged local capacity. These strong local capacities often stand out in light of the common perception that local development efforts do not always receive full support from the central government.
In this country, if you're a member of the House of Representatives, you don't count unless you can convince 118 other members of the House of Representatives that your idea works, or you convince the president so that he can convince the rest.
In most cases wherein projects and budgets get tied up at the national level, local government units or LGUs have learned to rely on their own resources. The resources that are leveraged at the local level are often not financial, but rather human and community resources.
Sa national government kasi, hindi tayo makaasa na matulungan tayo kaagad ng financial aspect. Pag nakita mo yung potentiality ng project, make use of the people at saka yung interest mo at saka kaalaman mo na itong project na ito will really move forward once it will be established.
In Dauen City in Negros Oriental Province, the mayor has set up locally managed marine sanctuaries. These not only help protect the environment, but also ensure the sustainable supply of aquatic resources for people living in the area. From its initial 2 sanctuaries, funded by a capital of around $1,000 US, the municipality now maintains a total of 10 sanctuaries.
Users fee lang ha, yung pagbabantay lang ng dagat, kukuliktahin mo lang yung mga divers na nagda-dive. We have already earned 6.2 million and 40% of that binabalik ko sa kanila.
To ensure project sustainability even beyond his term, the mayor has institutionalized the project's practices.
What I did in Dauen, yung Fishermen's Association, linagay ko na, sinama ko na sa Coastal Resource Management Ordinance, then dinidescribe din yung powers and functions nila doon, saka yung accountabilities nila, andoon sa ordinansa, directly inculcated, enshrined in the ordinance. So, whoever will be the leader, the association remains empowered to manage that marine sanctuary dahil institutionalized na sila. That's how the empowerment that in-implement ko sa Dauen.
Another example of how LGUs thrive in their own initiatives is the provincial government of Negros Oriental, this time tackling the issue of food security.
We realized at the beginning that the province of Negros Oriental was basically an agricultural province. So we thought of how to provide the farmers the facilities that will enhance their ability to farm, and giving them some kind of empowerment to think for themselves and to produce for themselves these necessary ingredients for their farm.
One such necessary ingredient is organic fertilizer, which farmers appreciate because of the soaring cost of commercial fertilizers and their detriment to crops.
The farmers that are interested, we give them 1 or 5 kilos of earthworms. And it's not totally free, but there's no cash out. The earthworm, the province will provide. 6 months later, you return the same weight of vermicast. so that we can give it to your neighbor.
With technical assistance from the provincial government, the project has taught farmers to make their own fertilizers from vermiculture. And this learning by doing approach has led more and more farmers to switch to vermiculture after they see the benefits for themselves.
Mo na nga, hanin yun, intra-intra na aning sa farmers na magikuan nila nga kanang sa organic ba, di bita ning kung bita intra taana kay wa man patay kapalit og kuan abono di. Kumparar atong commercial og kaning niong organic katong commercial tambok pero dali ra kani siya ang organic dili man siya tambok pero niwang pero dakan pud siya bunga nga sige-sige ra pud mi nakaani.
But the organic fertilizer program has unexpectedly led to a surplus of produce, prompting the provincial government to initiate another innovative action.
They were able to produce more vegetables, more than enough for their consumption. So they can hardly sell their products in their barangay. So they seek assistance from us. So that's why we opened this Tabo area.
Tabo sa Pao is a 2,000 square meter vegetable market granted by the local government to local farmers. Here, they are able to directly sell their produce, eliminating problems created by middlemen and market consignment.
Ang problema namo ang produkto ang mga tindera dinha sa kuan sa merkado sila may magbuot sa presyo pili ipalit. Kami mapugos may baligya sa brato kayo nga presyo sa taga merkado. Nagsugod among pagpamaligya diri sa Tabo. Yan ang panahon na. Dako namong gikalipay kay niadto primero gyud namong kuan. Medyo galisod-lisod pa me kay type ang tawo pero sa kadugayan nagdaghan na kay nakaabil na sila sa mga presko nya brato ubos og presyo kay kumpara sa merkado.
Because of the tremendous success of these projects, Negros Oriental officials received the Galing Pook Award, annually given to local governments in the Philippines in recognition of their good governance. Here, recognition has proven to be a powerful non-monetary incentive for local government performance.
Incentives don't have to be monetary. There is greater value placed on non-monetary incentives because they're based on existing cultural values, based on what communities believe are truly important to them.
In 2008, the Galing Pook Awards also included a special citation to recognize innovation and capacity development by LGUs. Strong and effective leadership is often key to the process of generating innovative ideas as well as putting them into practice.
They are first and foremost very inspirational leaders that have proven that with few resources but a lot of commitment to help their citizens and a good vision exercise, they are able to inspire everybody and to get them behind and really lead them.
The award system promotes sustainability of good practices by making local governments accountable for continuing and building on their good work. At the same time, the awardees serve as models for other communities.
Yung award nyo, recognition nyo, nagmamayabang ako, galing po, kawarde ako. So sabi nila, nakakaingit naman yung Dawin, sundin natin yun. Because of your award, I was recognized. Not because of the income. Yung income, hindi ko pwedeng maipagmalaki yun, hindi yun malaman. Pag wala kayong yung itong awards incentive mechanism na ini-sponsor nyo. No? So it promotes and inform all the people out there because of your foundation na naging known itong ginagawa nating best practices for the people in governance.
I think it gives incentives to us. We first received the Galing Pook Award when I was the governor here, and that gave us the impetus to do more or to do something different.
Because ultimately it's our dream also to have this kind of a mission, an objective on the national scale, on the national level. And to me, it's not an impossible dream because if we were able to do it, I hope that we were able to do it, then others can do it also. It is a question only of political will.
There are now many good examples of capacity development strategies producing results at the local level. But all three countries, Bhutan, Vietnam, and the Philippines, as well as other countries in the region, face the challenge of institutionalizing these good practices by making sure that policymakers dedicate more resources to capacity development approaches.
These examples should be brought to scale. It's not just about implementing a few pilot projects. They should be institutionalized. They should be put into national frameworks for planning in regulatory frameworks.
One size fits all doesn't work. And therefore, the rules and principles in planning, for example, would be a minimum requirement, right? And then rooms for local level to basically tailor that minimum to their best, sort of most effective way of implementation.
When talking to the awardees, some of them make it very clear that by institutionalizing those practices, they are able to offer, provided there is leadership and there is commitment from national level, a model that can be easily upscaled nationwide.
Capacity development means investing in individuals, organizations, and institutions, and it is a process of long-term change. But, in turn, it is a worthwhile long-term investment, one that outlasts the life of any one project or program.
It has to be long-term. It can't be any other way. You cannot expect that someone's capacity will be enhanced by a 3-week training and they'll be able to make substantial, sustainable change based on that for the next 10 years. It just doesn't happen that way.
But long-term does not necessarily mean massive funding.
I would think that if the total amount of ODA is less, the leveraged role of the investment of ODA investment in the capacity building remains much higher. For example, they may spend less ODA on building roads or bridge, but with the less money, if spent properly into the building national capacity in terms of planning or design the public investment project better or prioritizing them better, that would make huge impact.
And because in capacity development, investments are tied directly to a community's specific needs, culture, and resources, funds are accurately utilized, creating greater impact and covering more ground.
It's important that these skills should be upgraded so that people are able to perform. If their capacity is built, if they're able to perform, then there's nothing like it, because then people like us will be out of business in a sense. I mean, they don't need us. They can plan on their own, you see. They can do things on their own and it'll be more sustainable.
When capacity development is prioritized, progress more effectively trickles down to the marginalized sectors, targeting the very roots of poverty, eliminating the obstacles that stand in the way of a country's growth.
Dako ko kayo og kuan ng pagtuo nga kining klasiha sa organisasyon sa Tabo sa pagpamaligya, dako kayo ikalambo sa atong pagpanginabuhi diri sa kuan tinubre nga panginabuhi, pero may dako kayong paglaom nga maka-provide og pa-eskwela sa mga bata. Kaysa tinuray lang ang ako yung paglaom nako ni adres sa Tabo sa Pao nga makapahuman ko sa akong anak pa-eskwela diri sa kuan kolehiyo.
And no longer will these voices fade in the pursuit of progress. Instead, they will be the powerful forces that fuel the growth of their nations.
Jordi de sera bon dirgi jordi titige lesa ger khabiya ki jodi jordi jula